What is going on, everybody? My name is Ciara Lawler. Welcome back to another week of Hero or Zero. This is the Heroes for Hire podcast. We are back again talking one comic book character. As we do every single week, we talk their good points and their bad points, and we generally just give you a bit of a rundown of everything to do with that character. I am joined, as always, by my best pal, Mr. Shaun Mead. Shaun, how is it going?
I'm good, Conor. I'm a bit upset this week, I'll be honest.
What? Okay, what's bothering Shaun now, we ask?
Well, I have to listen to a DC report. Fucking got him.
I'm leaving the call.
All right, okay. Well, folks, it's me and you.
Too personal. Too quick. If it is your first episode, you don't have to do anything. Don't worry about it. If it's your second or above, we would really appreciate 5 stars, a like, a follow, a share. 5 stars on Spotify is absolutely amazing.
Huge.
And you'd be a complete legend if you left a comment on any of the platforms. That's always really cool to read. But, you know, in other ways they can support the show, Shaun, Patreon down below.
Patreon, always a good one. Helps us keep making the show. You get extra movie reviews once a month. We're about to record our new one, so if you have any suggestions for that, leave it in a comment or on the Patreon, and it gets thrown into the hat as well.
Yeah, so we've gotten through all that, Shaun. As I mentioned, this is Hero Zero. It is my week, and I normally do DC characters, and you normally do Marvel characters. Yeah. And so it has fallen to me that I'm going to do a bit of a this is, I was going to say a recommendation, but this was sent in to us a few weeks ago, and we're currently still working our way through a lot of the recommendations that everyone has kindly sent in.
Big long list, by the way.
Which we basically and look, this sounds like humble bragging, and it is, but like back in the day we could say send stuff in and nobody sent anything in, and so then we could make stuff up. But
peek
now,
behind the curtain, we used to pretend we had a lot of listener interaction.
But now people send us stuff and now I have to do things.
Now we're actually like culpable to people.
Now I'm obliged to follow this.
Because people are really nice and generous with their time.
I hate them.
They've ruined this for me.
You've ruined it by being involved. No, so very kindly
we're the
a few weeks ago,
fucking podcast.
Very kindly, Davey sent in an Instagram post to us, and he mentioned that he would love to know more about some of the animals in comic books, some of the just the sidekicks, the super pets.
The super pets. Okay, I know them, some of them by name. But not anything about what they're about.
Well, it was already added into the list, and then one of our patrons, Waffles, sent in literally 2 days later and said, I would love to hear more about the animals in DC. So I have listened to the people, and now we are going to do a report on all the different animals that are currently in DC, because I couldn't concentrate on just one, because ultimately, there's not really a full origin story, and none of them have had full-on, like, comic book arcs over a decade.
Look, not all animals in DC can be Chip, the Green Lantern, what is a squirrel.
If you haven't heard the report on Chip, I would recommend going to listen to it. He's killed by a truck.
I was livid, that entire report.
What a guy. Think of Green Lantern, powerful ring, they give it to a chipmunk. Don't ask questions. Or a squirrel, what is he?
Chipmunk makes more sense, but I think he's a squirrel.
I think he's a squirrel called Chip. So I'm not going to be doing the report on Crypto, the super dog, and Ace, the bat hound, for the simple reason that I think of them as, like, everyone kind of knows Crypto, the super dog, is Superman's dog, and he's got all of Superman's powers, and he flies about the place and hangs out with Superboy. Ace, the bat hound, is Batman's dog, and he hangs out with Batman, and very much a big character in the Batman Beyond animated series. And they're just kind of, I mean, they have fun stories, but everyone kind of already knows vaguely who they are.
Just by their names alone, you can gather what they're about. One is a grim, miserable dog, and the other is a happy super dog.
See, but then I decided what would be more fun, instead of talking about those two, I'm going to be talking about some of the weirdest animal superheroes or sidekicks that are in DC and have appeared in DC, and then I'm going to finish on my absolute favourite fucking insane super pet that does exist in DC in the Silver Age.
Okay, I'm into this. I love a report that's just a bunch of things thrown together.
So, we're going to work our way through, I think I have like 6 or 7 small ones. I'm going to give you a brief just intro to each one of them. That's about it. And then we can get into the big character who's my number 1 pet animal in DC, who definitely shouldn't exist and is a terrible idea. But the first one, Shaun, I'm actually going to take Crypto the dog as like a bit of inspiration, because Superman actually has multiple animals who are kind of imbued with the Superman powers.
Do they just by being around him they get the powers? Is that it?
So here's the thing. There's Superdog. So Crypto the Superdog, easy. Jumped onto the ship as he's flying away and the Krypton blows up. Then also, there's a monkey that jumped onto a different ship and left with, don't ask questions. But then, so they went with the monkey, and then they were kind of run out of things that could sneakily jump into a ship without seeing it.
It's a very packed ship for being, he's the one survivor from Krypton.
So then they came up with, in the 60s, Streaky, who, unlike other animals with Kryptonian powers, Streaky isn't actually from Krypton. His powers come from a rare kryptonite known as X-Kryptonite. Exposure to the material gave Streaky the full range of Kryptonian powers, such as flight and enhanced strength and speed. Plus, he has the attitude and toughness of any other alley cat.
He's a tough streetwise cat, but with Superman powers.
Exactly. He just basically got radiated into Superman powers.
And this kryptonite, does it only work on cats?
Look, it was a period in comic books where they were just making shit up, and so he just started licking a kryptonite stone, and suddenly he's got superpowers. Don't ask questions.
Comics Code Authority was probably in at this point, so they were like, "Oh, we can just give him a cat now, I suppose."
Well, because they had a dog. They needed a cat.
And I bet there's an issue where they fight. And they have all
goddamn
kinds
right there is,
of scrapes.
right? So he's not as beloved as Crypto, but still an awesome addition to the Superman family. And my number 1, by the way, that I'm going to be covering in a slight report at the end of this, is actually a part of the Superman family, or the Super family. But genuinely, Superman...
It's Superman. Did he we bought a zoo? The DC
He's
universe.
Matt Damon. We bought it a zoo. Yes, he does that in comic books. Yes. Next up, I have Flexi. One of the newer members of the Legion of Super Pets is Flexi, the super-powered parrot belonging to Plastic Man. Flexi has the same abilities as Eel O'Brien, otherwise known as Plastic Man, and is able to stretch and alter his body into whatever form he desires. He hasn't had a lot of stories to show what he's really capable of, but he's got the powers of stretch.
Does Flexi have the brain of a parrot? Or
brain of a parrot.
Brain of a parrot. So he's all the imagination of a parrot.
So
I mean, I guess
a lot of his tricks.
Very good, very, very good, Connor. It is good for a comedian though, because Plastic Man's like a comedian actor dude. To have the one animal that can speak, that's a nice touch.
It makes sense. Next up, we have Goliath, who is Damian Wayne's pet. Although it's a bit much to call him a pet, he's like a big, powerful beast, more so.
What is he?
Goliath is a demon bat, and he was set to, I think he has to protect. He was found when he was like protecting this rare stone that Damien went to go get, and there was like a baby Goliath there, and he took him back to Talia and was like, "I'm raising him as my champion. Fuck you."
I have this whole thing with bats you wouldn't understand.
You wouldn't understand it. That's my dad. As a demon bat, Goliath is super strong, fast, durable, capable of flight, and he's basically just a pure killer.
I think that's just a demon. That's not a bat.
Yeah, he's got a demon. He's got a demon bat, but mostly just demon.
He's got a pet demon. Is what he has.
Now here's the thing: Goliath, complete sweetheart, Shaun. He wouldn't harm anyone unless they lay a hand on Damien, and then he will rip your arms off and beat you to death with them.
That's pretty good. Like Clifford the big red dog. The exact same.
Clifford gives me the impression he's a killer. He's a psychopath.
He's the original XL bully.
He's killed many a man. You know he has.
They had Clifford on the front lines in Vietnam.
And he keeps saying oopsie daisy, but we know he means it. Yeah. We know.
And he looks all whimsical, but like there's death behind those eyes. But he's got
blood. You can't see it because he's red, but he's got blood in his hands.
Yeah, he's a white dog, but he's just fucking stained.
All of his victims. So if you haven't seen a picture of Goliath, big, red, furry, just big demon. Just think of a big red demon.
Goliath DC. Yeah, that looks like a big red demon.
Big red demon.
He looks real cute as a baby, though.
That's where he finds him. He looks like that. It was kind of like maybe a thing where he thinks he's a puppy, but he turns into a wolf, but like in demon form.
Yeah, he looks... Honestly, genuinely, he looks quite like Clifford with wings.
Yeah, it's true. Next we have Topo. Aquaman can talk to fish thanks to his telepathic connection to sea creatures, but the one he relies on the most is Topo, an octopus-like creature. We've seen loads of different versions of Topo through Arthur Curry's history, and they all have a real intense loyalty to Aquaman. Basically.
Right, but that's not a pet though. That's a colleague at that point.
At that point, yeah, you're kind of like a sidekick.
Yeah, like if he can talk to him, and it's an octopus, which is the smartest of the sea creatures. So
exactly.
I wouldn't call that a pet.
Do you think Aquaman avoids some of the creatures because I guess lad's a fucking moron?
Oh, 100%. Like, there's no way a moray eel comes over to him and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to chat with this guy.
Oh, you can help me with my problem."
Yeah. No, there's some useless fucking fish out there.
Black Manta's going to blow up the fucking ocean. I'm not going to ask you, fucking goldfish boy. Okay?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Go hide in a fucking anemone, you dickhead.
Do you know any sharks?
Give me something useful.
He hates them. Next up we have Clay Critter, who's kind of an animal but really is like a piece of clay that's fallen off Clayface and gains sentience.
Like that one Harley Quinn episode where he loses his hand.
Basically, yes. Lady Gaga. And so, but unfortunately he's kind of part of Clayface, but he has the same abilities as the supervillain, but
he can only work with the clay that he is.
Yeah, tiny. He's a tiny piece of clay.
So he can look like a dog or a different kind of dog.
A big dog and a slightly medium-sized dog. Next we have Jumpa, who is a kangaroo. Paradise Island got an interesting addition into its ecosystem when it was invaded by a race of aliens who rode giant kangaroo-like aliens known as Kangas. So this is Wonder Woman's planet.
It's at this point that I would like to point out, if I brought this up in a Marvel report, I would be absolutely roasted for it.
I am going to take it as fact. I can't be blamed for the animals, Shaun. I'm just telling you.
You can't be blamed for any of this.
Well, I think you can. I disagree. So, a load of aliens came to Wonder Woman's island, and they're all aliens, and they're riding kangaroo-like aliens known as Kangas. After defeating the aliens, the Amazons basically decided they wanted to keep the kangaroos because of their powerful jumps. And so Wonder Woman took one on and named it Jumpa. And Wonder Woman and Jumpa have an incredible bond that has lasted for basically all of Diana's life.
Pretty cool. Regular kangaroo? No, it's an alien kangaroo, technically.
Technically alien kangaroo, yes.
That's mad that Krypton evolved dogs and then another planet evolved kangaroos.
I think they're just making this stuff up, Shaun.
What? Comic artists are just trying to sell covers? Is that? No.
Sorry, what? Sorry, just say that again, please. Next up we have a dog, D-A-G-G, who is Lobo's little dog, otherwise known as a dog. And if you don't know who Lobo is, he's a bounty hunter, and he just has this dog. Dog is kind of strong, nasty, and is able to kind of survive anything, but mostly is just kind of a dog.
Okay. So just a tough regular dog. Yeah,
but he's with Lobo, so he's kind of a dickhead dog, because they're like 1-2 punch.
Oh, his friend is really strong and tough, but he's like a little guy that puts him into fights.
Exactly, he's like a Scrappy-Doo.
Like you with me.
Yeah, you're 9'7". Right. Next we have Dexter, who's a Red Lantern cat.
Alright. Okay.
And Dexter was once an average Earth kitten named Dexter. And the poor cat's life came crashing down when his owner was murdered and he was kicked out onto the streets.
Sorry, the cat has a tragic backstory.
Basically, think of Bruce Wayne. So, owner gets killed, he gets kicked out into the streets. The Red Lantern Corps invites him in for some reason.
Red Lantern is anger, is that right?
Anger, yes, because he's very angry.
He's just a prick of a cat.
And then he uses his new powers to get revenge.
Perfect. So the cat comes with a ring and kills the people that killed his owner. Outstanding storytelling. That's the best it's ever going to get.
I wouldn't change a thing. Keep it that way.
Take an early one. It's fine. We're going home.
We've nailed that. And then lastly, Hoppy. So Hoppy is a pet of the Shazam family who has gained all of the divine powers of his owners. So Hoppy is a little bunny variant. And has all of the powers of Shazam, which is pretty good.
Seems dangerous to give that to
Seems dangerous. But, he's a little bunny. What harm can he do?
He's got the power of Zeus and shit.
Yeah, but it's cute.
It's funny because he's so small and cute, but he's so strong.
So you can see why I can't really do full reports on any of those people or those animals, because they just kind of get introduced as fucking silly ideas and then are never expanded upon.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, here's the issue where they have pet trouble, and then now they have to exist in the universe forever.
The only one, however, that is my absolute favourite, because of how terrible it is, and it's because, settle in, Sean, because we're talking Supergirl, and we're talking her pet horse, Comet, the super horse.
Wasn't aware there was a super horse on the scene.
We've got a dog, we've got a cat, we've got a monkey, and now we've got a horse.
So, okay, how does the horse get superpowers?
This is, I would say, the worst origin story we've ever covered on this.
We've had some bad ones. We've had Black Condor.
You might want to buckle up, because Comet is way more complicated than you might expect, even by the standards of the Silver Age. He has a history that literally covers thousands of years in both directions.
The horse.
Yes.
I'm not even going to look up the lifespan of a horse. I know it's not thousands of years in both directions.
It's definitely less. You in the equestrian school? that horse won't live for thousands of years, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that for a fact.
Sorry to bum you all out, but no,
it's not going to be 1002, I'll tell you that. So where do we start? His name's not actually Comet, he's not actually a horse, and if we're being honest with each other, he's only some definitions of super, so that's where we start.
Okay, throw out everything you know about Comet the Super Horse so far.
Yeah. To figure out how we got the Comet, though, we have to go back to 1955, and that was the year that Otto Binder and Kurt Swan brought us Krypto the Super Dog, which is pretty good. As strange as it might sound, an indestructible flying dog from outer space, Krypto has the distinction of being one of the real first connections for Superman to Krypton, and people like that, because he's from his planet, so it kind of brings him back. And it's also massively part of the history and heritage of Superman, because Krypto the Super Dog is older than the Phantom Zone, Supergirl, really big things in the Superman world.
Yeah, early on in the lore of Superman, Krypto was there.
Yeah, exactly. And Krypto, on the other hand, he was a bit different because he's Superman's best friend, he's loyal, he's smart, and the image, obviously, of Superboy flying around with the dog is, really good for selling comic books to young children. Yeah,
here's a kid that looks like you, and here's a dog which is nearly a universally liked creature.
Exactly.
By this comic.
Completely relatable. And as is the case with all the things, with popularity came imitation. If one super pet is good, Sean, then 2 or 3 is probably gonna be better. If only because some readers prefer cats. You know what I mean? It's
hilarious reading that sentence after the 9 super pets you presented to us just now. Each one declining in quality.
with Crypto acting as proof of concept, there's no real reason to not just introduce an entire caped pet store. The only problem is trying to figure out the origin story, Shaun, because this stuff is vital. See, the thing about Crypto is that he's the perfect combination of being like bizarre, but also propping up the mythology, because he's like part of the origin story. His origin is completely understandable because he like leaps into the ship, into the rocket just before it leaves, and then he's in there.
And no one else on Krypton could do that. No, none of the humans were able to.
They all got killed big time. And so, like, now they have a dog. Very nice. But how do you do the thing of all of the rest of them? So you have the monkey who accidentally jumped into the different ship. You know how it is. And so they came for the rest of the super pets. So then with Streaky, as I mentioned, Jerry Siegel and Jim Mooney went with another pretty simple idea. Having a piece of strange kryptonite caused the permanent mutation, so he doesn't have to be on a ship.
Yeah, so it sounds like even then they were like, oh, it's weird if they're all just also on the ship.
By the time they got to the horse, though, all the obvious ideas were taken, which is a problem.
It's a little bit tough. You've written yourself into a corner there. Yeah. Why did they want a horse so badly?
Supergirl, like...
Girls like horses?
Little girls like horses, and like My Little Pony in the 60s? I don't know.
Maybe. I will say I don't like horses. I think they're too big. But anyway,
I don't trust them. What are they hiding?
They're too smart. They're too fast and strong.
Which brings us at long last to Comet. Comet, in his first appearance in 1962. Siegel and Swan didn't even have an origin. Just in things weren't already complicated enough, Comet's first appearance is actually in a story set in the future, where people from the future go back to their past, which is still our future. So people from like the year 3000 come back to the year 2100.
Right, but in 1962 that's the future.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll allow it. I'm not
Supergirl in that story is hanging out with Comet the Super Horse.
In 2100 or whatever.
So whatever, I'm just using that as an example. So they've written themselves into a corner in which this character doesn't have a horse, but in the future has a best friend who is a super horse. So they've now got to figure out a way to get this thing, Comet, into the stories.
Okay, this horse who isn't really a horse and isn't really super.
Well, they haven't explained that bit yet.
No, it's too early.
That comes later, please. And so the first appearance wasn't until 7 months later in Action Comics 292. But even then, we wouldn't get an origin story. Instead, there's an extremely complicated setup where Supergirl sees a movie about a very smart horse and then keeps having dreams about how nice it would be to have her own horse, to the point where they become a genuinely worrying level distraction from her day-to-day life.
So she's like fighting crime and stuff, being like, God, if I had a horse, jeez, I'd be so happy. Yeah,
she's voting on things and saying like nay, and then she's like, oh man, imagine the seats. You're really dressed pretty. Think of a different horse.
I'll be honest, I'm going to be useless for the next few minutes while I start thinking of horse puns.
Eventually, she and her parents decide that the best way to deal with this is to go on vacation to a ranch that is, for some reason, named after Supergirl. And sure enough, there's Comet at the ranch.
Wait, Supergirl has parents?
It's the 60s shot. It's 1962.
Sorry, continue.
They haven't rewritten everything yet. Right?
We haven't had a crisis.
We haven't had a crisis yet, right? So anyway, we don't actually get to the origin story until the next issue, marking 8 full months from Comet's first appearance to readers finally actually finding out what his deal is. It might not sound like a lot, because now you might have maybe one a month, but in the times of the 60s, they used to do 3 complete stories in each issue, which meant that people miss out. They did 3 complete stories in every single issue for 8 months and never reintroduced this character they randomly showed in a story.
And people were clamouring, being like, where's the horse?
Where is he? What? My wife, she's asking me, where is the horse? Why do I not have the horse?
When will we see the horse?
When will we see the horse? So it's tempting to think that the writers just wanted to put it off as long as they could on the account of they didn't have an origin or really any idea of how this fucking thing existed.
Yeah, they didn't want to tell a story with a horse necessarily.
What's the point? So they remember how I said that Comet the Super Horse is neither of those things? Well,
yeah.
This is where we find out what he actually is. So it turns out that Comet is actually a centaur named Byron from the Hercules times, who was accidentally turned into a full horse by Circe.
Okay, so centaur, half human, half horse, got turned into a regular horse.
Yeah, by Circe the witch, yeah.
From Hercules times.
Yeah.
But still has the mind of a regular human? Is that what I'm getting here?
Yes.
Or the mind of a centaur, I suppose.
Mind of a human, Sean, yes.
Right. And does Supergirl know any of this? That she's just hanging out with a dude?
No.
Why would she? Don't worry about it, is the answer.
Like, they came up with this, as we always say, it's 5:30 on a Friday afternoon. Yeah. They've been there all day. There's papers everywhere. There's smoke in the room. Nobody can fucking figure out what they're going to do. A horse can't sneak onto a ship. So, where's this thing come from? What's going on? And they came up with the genius idea that he was a centaur that got turned into a full horse by Circe and then is sprinkled by an evil wizard with dust that sends him into outer space for thousands of years.
Okay, couple of things.
Yeah.
The dust sends him into space for thousands of years.
Yeah.
The dust does that from the wizard.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're saying things, but that's obviously correct, yes.
And that's how he ends up meeting Supergirl later in space.
Well, no, Supergirl's rocket, that when she leaves Krypton, she flies around and the laser beams destroy the magic field that is around the magical horse.
Why not? Why does she have to meet the horse in space?
They thought this was better.
But you have magic. You can turn... It's weirder to turn a centaur into a horse than it is to turn a human into a horse.
A centaur into a horse and then send them to space in a magical little little ball.
To bring him back to Earth.
To bring it back to Earth when Supergirl passed by.
And then what? Supergirl cracks out with a case and then the horse is just there? Is that what happens? She
destroys the magic field and then the horse comes to Earth. Yes.
Goes back to Earth.
The magical field is gone.
Magical field is gone, of course. Of course, would love a magical field.
So if that seems like it might be a little too complex, Sean, it's because it is. And it only becomes more so when you think about how this changes the dynamic. Since Comet's first appearance was that weird cameo as part of the Legion of Super Pets. So Supergirl is riding him. He's established as a pet.
Yeah, but he is a sentient dude.
So this origin story hits with the creators knowing that it's going to result in Supergirl essentially claiming ownership of a person.
Can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. It's bad.
The Heroes for Hire podcast stands directly over the fact you can't be owning people. Come on now.
People can't own people. No one can own people.
And since he tells her his origin story that I mentioned he's got telepathy, she knows that he's technically a human, but she still treats him like a horse.
Does he sleep outside? You know? Is that allowed?
It gets weirder.
What kind of food's he eating? Is he eating just hay and shit?
Is she giving him a lasagna? What's the story?
Yeah, like what do you feed a horse who used to be a man? Is the question.
That's the real question. But Shaun, it gets weirder. Because even though he tells her the gritty details of his origin story, Comet does keep one secret from Supergirl. See, because of the mystical effects of an actual comet that seems to pass near Earth at one stage, he sometimes turns into a full human when a comet passes by Earth.
No. He doesn't.
Yes.
We're not allowing that.
No, he does. It's a magical comet.
Okay, so now, if we're to trace it, Centaur turned into regular horse.
Yeah.
Who occasionally changes back not into a centaur.
No.
But into a full human.
Yes.
When the comet is near.
Yes.
And how does he negotiate? Like, what happens in his own life when that change occurs?
Well, in Action Comics 311, Shaun, we found out because after he gets over a brief bout of amnesia, he ends up using his experience as a horse to become a rodeo star named Bronco Bill Star. That's
okay. So now at this point, the former horse, who's a former centaur, is now riding other horses for profit.
Yes.
Fucking
this is gold.
Writings.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It never got better, did it?
How is this not a universal animal that everyone knows of?
But how does... And it's only as long as the comet lasts, is that right? And then he turns back into a horse?
Yeah.
Is he happy?
The worst part of the whole thing, the high point of the weirdness, Shaun, is I'm only going to say one sentence.
I haven't thought of where this might go, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm really, really hoping I'm wrong,
so
Connor.
at this point, he's a man. Okay?
Yeah.
And for a little bit.
Limited
and he hasn't
time
told Supergirl who he is.
Oh no.
And so he decides that him and Supergirl...
No, he doesn't.
Have a little romance.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there.
So he's riding animals who are just him.
Yeah.
And having sex with a woman who doesn't know that he's a horse.
And is also her friend / pet. It's all very icky to me.
He doesn't tell her who he is, by the way, either. It never comes up.
It never tells her.
It never naturally comes up. No, she doesn't know. She just thinks she's dating Bob. You know what I mean?
Wait,
she thinks she's dating Bronco Billstar.
Bronco Billstar, of course. So, wait, you're telling me, and again, this could have been all removed. This might have been the reason they did Crisis, because they had to redo this.
Yeah, for this one story.
Oh, for a while, Supergirl had fucked a horse, basically.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
But he was in human form, which makes it slightly better.
But he should have told her.
Oh, that's on him. That's not on her. If she doesn't have the available information.
Yeah, she can't make that decision of her own accord.
She's not making an educated decision there.
Not at all. Not a chance. I don't and there's okay. It's weird that he's a horse who turned into a man. Weirdly, it's like if he was purely honest and it was a centaur, that's less weird. But when it's a horse who's turned into a man, it's very strange.
I think this is the high point of the weirdness, not just for Supergirl, not just for DC. I think for comics as a whole. You can't really get past Supergirl sometimes dates a boy who is secretly her 3,000-year-old sentient pet horse.
And he just lives forever, is that his thing?
Yeah, he's sentient. Don't worry about it.
How often does this comet come around?
So eventually, after a few more bizarre adventures and a couple more dates as Bronco Bill, Comet would be phased out in the early 70s, as the Superman titles tried to lean more into a focus on non-fucking psychopathic stories. So, barring a few retro-themed appearances in the early days, Comet was pretty much gone for good after Crisis on Infinite Earths in 1986.
They took him out back and just...
I think they took him out back and shot him, yes.
Shut your eyes, Comet.
Think of Bronco Bill.
Think of your happier days when you were enslaving other horses.
In terms of powers and abilities, Sean, Comet is endowed with a number of powers. Oh, he's fucking endowed, I'd say.
He's fucking endowed, all right.
Lads.
Lads.
He's got an enhanced intellect, flight, immortality, invulnerability, metamorphosis, superhuman speed, superhuman strength, and telepathy.
Pretty good across the board.
Yeah.
Superhuman when he's a horse. I mean, I don't know how that scales. If it was super equine, like, is he faster than a regular horse?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just had to ask that.
No, he is, yeah. But when a comet comes by, he turns into a human. I assume the human is also pretty quick.
What if he's just a really shit human?
Like he's dog shit. Well, look, he got Supergirl. You know what I mean?
It's true, but that's all charm and lies, Connor.
He's a very charismatic...
There's no actual substance to the man.
He's a very charismatic mad horse.
He's a snake oil salesman.
He's a player.
He's for a horse, he's a dog of a man, you know?
Oh, I was thinking the same thing, yeah. For, like, I mean, this story, I think of this at least once a week.
And now I will as well.
This is my Roman Empire. I think of this, I read this years ago. I learned of this character years ago, and I thought, that might be the worst thing I've ever read. But then I sometimes think, Sean doesn't know about that, but it's very hard to introduce anyone to Comet without being like, this is awful.
I think it might be worse than Egg Foo. Like,
it does have it has an air of sexual assault in it.
Yeah, which is never good in your fun children's books. You don't want an
air of sexual assault.
No, you don't want any element of sexual assault in anything, I would say.
Like, I suppose they're consenting adults, but one...
You can't consent if you're being lied to, though.
True.
And he's a fucking horse.
Well, he's a centaur who got turned into a horse, who got turned into a man.
Okay. But then before anything occurs, he has to tell her all of that. And also, he's been living in her stables apart. Like,
yeah, he's a sentient pet horse.
Sentient pet horse, but he knows he's a dude, right? Like, he knows he's a centaur.
Yeah.
And he never tells her this. Like, I used to be a centaur.
He's telepathic. It never comes up.
Never comes up. Doesn't think it's necessary to mention that.
They're always busy.
Then I have questions about the centaur who's happy to live as a horse. Yeah. There's a load of magicians that could probably fix him.
No, he doesn't want to.
Why does he want to live as a horse so bad?
He's really fucking into Supergirl, fucking going around the stables with him.
Well, yeah, but like...
He's into some dodgy stuff.
He's a bad
dog horse.
Bad dog, horse, centaur man.
Centaur man, magic, space, comet man.
Yeah, all of the above. Just a thoroughly unpleasant individual. A thoroughbred,
I would like
unpleasant.
To say that I think this is Davey and Waffles' fault. I didn't want to do this, Sean. I didn't want to release Comet onto the people.
We had a good 15 minutes there of weird little shitty pet characters. That was fine. And now I have to go to bed tonight dealing with this and grappling with the fact that this is now in the world.
So when the Supergirl movie comes out next year, I'm going to start a hashtag Where's Comet?
Release the Comet cut.
Release the Comet cut. Where's Comet, James Gunn?
He could very well put him in. Like,
I hope he gets shot in the face.
Yeah, I want the Superman film to start at like the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and Comet is down for the final time.
The
and
issue is
you hear one gunshot
it,
and it cuts to the title.
Everyone watching it though, without the history, would be like, "Wow, this is super mean."
They just killed a horse on
This
film.
is horrific. This movie. And we're like, "Yeah, get him."
We get down the bottom of the theatre. It's like, no, that's a centaur who's a sex pest. Don't worry about it.
He went to space. He was in a magical bubble. She woke him up when she was flying past. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. He's a bad dude.
Yeah.
Let him die.
Let him. He's not being truthful in relationships. Let him die.
Conor, that's a very good report. That might be the worst, morally the worst character we've ever covered.
Oh, we've covered a few bad ones.
I know, but he takes the sea biscuit.
He does. Yeah, well done.
Thanks.
You got one.
I've been trying to. I was on Secretariat for a while. It didn't work.
I kept doing National Derby or so. I was like, how the fuck do you fit Derby into a sentence?
The red rum.
Red rum's a lovely one. Yeah, Shergar, if you're in Ireland.
Shergar. RIP. R.I.P. Well, they never found him.
Never found him. He's in bits. Shaun, do you want to take us out?
Yes, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Hero or Zero. We will be back on Monday with the Heroes for Hire podcast, and then next Friday with another episode of Hero or Zero. Big thank you to every single one of our patrons over on Patreon, patreon.com/Heroes for Hire podcast. Link to that is in the description. As we said up top, everyone who supports us over there helps us keep the show going. They get extra movie reviews every month, and it's just a fun time. We do live stream hangouts and stuff like that as well. So head on over there if you think you would be interested in that. Or there are other ways to support the show. There is heroesforhire.ie/shop. That's our merch store. At Heroes for Hire Pod on Twitter. The 4 is the number 4. Facebook is Detective Divilment's discussion group. Instagram is Heroes for Hire Podcast. And the best way to ever help out the show is to tell one human being that we exist.
Just the one, please.
And I think that's about it, Conor.
I think so. So I've been Conor Lawler.
I've been Shaun Meehan.
And we are changed men. We shall see you all next week.
I'm so sorry.
Bye-bye.
Bye.